I've been watching. We'll give you a couple talks soon, man.
All right, let's be glad to.
Hey guys, this is Dominique Wilkins.
Hey, this is Sean Kemp.
This is Gary Payton.
Hey, this is Pau Gasol.
NBA fans, what's up? This is Vince Carter here.
Hey, what's up? This is Matt Barnes. If you're an old school NBA fan like I am, make sure you check out the Basketball Time Machine with my man Sean David.
Hey folks, good day to y'all. How's it going? My name is Sean David and I welcome you back to the Basketball Time Machine. I hope you're ready for your weekly dose of old school NBA basketball. In today's episode, I want to take a look at what NBA legends have to say about how good Wilt Chamberlain was. And as you probably know, I usually only cover 80s and 90s NBA basketball, but since the show's called the Basketball Time Machine, I want to rewind it back a little bit more. But before we dive into that, I want to ask you guys for a small favor. Please subscribe to the channel and like the video if you enjoy the content. All right, enough said. Let's get right into it. So where do we start? Now, I would say let's start with Dominique Wilkins, aka the Human Highlight Film, who I had on my show not too long ago. And while we talked, we also talked a little bit about Wilt Chamberlain, and I could hear that this guy has a lot of appreciation for Wilt Chamberlain. But I found another clip that you probably haven't seen before, where he's also talking about how great Wilt was. Let's have a look.
Who was the best basketball player that you've seen that you really admired their game?
When I watched Wilt Chamberlain, listen, he got still over 60-some NBA records that would never be broken. The guy averaged 50 and 30 rebounds a game for one season.
I couldn't believe it when I read it.
I saw a video, an old tape of him, where a guy goes to shoot it over him and he lobs it high. Chamberlain jumps and his fingertips is at the top of the backboard when he catches a shot. I've never seen anything like that. That's unhuman, you know, for someone to do that. And so what he did and his dominance and with the physicality that he played with, where people were basically trying to take him out and they couldn't, he was too strong. I mean, he was benching 650 pounds before games. The guy was an incredible. So you start with Russell, you start with guys like Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem, those guys was before their time.
I mean, I got love for Kareem, but I'm saying he's the greatest Lakers center ever.
Yes, he is, and I'm the most dominant.
I mean, and then you got Wilt Chamberlain after that.
Chuck, you ain't gonna hurt my feelings, Chuck. I'm the most dominant.
Chuck, you're gonna be a true 76er tonight. You're gonna be number 76 on the list.
Hey,
you're a true 76er.
Now, Shaq, you might not make the list.
Lakers centers. If you had to rank the Lakers centers, it'd be. Don't give me dominant. No, just give me go.
Kareem, me, then Wilkes.
Okay.
Oh, you're not betting Wilt. Stop it.
I got 4.
No, stop it. Stop it. Hey, stop it. Hey, stop it. You already getting petty. You already getting petty on the first night. You're not better than Wilt Chamberlain.
You don't remember my ceremonies?
You're not better than Wilt Chamberlain.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Your experiences of last year with this prolific scoring games, how do you now view what Wilt Chamberlain was able to do? A 100-point game and that entire 62 season that he had when he averaged, it seems incredible now to think he averaged 50 points.
Yeah, 25 rebounds. I mean, that's amazing. It's amazing.
Times were different. It was a different
game.
Yeah.
It was a different game still. You know, 50 points, 25 rebounds. It's 50 points and 25 rebounds. It's a credit to what a physical specimen he was and how talented he was.
That's a fair point. Well, it was Wilt's record, obviously, until you surpassed his total. And some of his statistical exploits are still sort of mind-blowing. They mess up all our research graphics. Yeah. You played against him. For those of us who never saw him live, what should people know about Wilt as a player?
Well, you know, as formidable as Shaq was physically, just stalwart, 300 pounds of steel and agility and athleticism. Wilt was all of that. And I saw him play. I was in grade school and high school. I saw him average 55 points a game. I saw him play a number of times that year. The year he averaged 30 rebounds, I believe it was, a game. I was seeing him play. He got the 100 points against my team, the Knicks. That was in Hershey, Pennsylvania, but I read about it immediately the next day. Wilt was incredible.
When Wilt was playing for Philadelphia, we used to have a Thanksgiving night game with Philadelphia every year, noontime of the game. Wilt came by the hotel, got me, and took me home with him, and I had dinner with him and his mother, his father, and his sisters and brothers. And after dinner, his mother said to me, "I understand you take a nap after every afternoon." I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, you can go in Wilt's bed and take a nap." And so I took a nap that afternoon, and then we went to the game together. This was an annual thing. See, I never considered him a rival. I always considered him as a competitor, in that we competed from the same position, but in completely different ways.
Oh, my impressions of Wilt is that everything you had done, he had done better. And he was that kind of a guy. I remember him from Philly, obviously. He's a Philadelphia guy. I went to school with his brother, so I kind of knew him and had seen him play. I sat on his sidelines while they played in the playgrounds a lot of times when he came back home, hoping to get picked to play, in those games with him and whatnot. But, he was a guy that I had idolized, so to speak. I wore his socks throughout my high school career because they were long and I had real skinny legs, so I was able to make my legs look a little bit bigger. But he was a guy that for me and most of the guys that I know, he's the greatest player that ever played the game.
Saw Wilt play when I was in high school because the Philadelphia All-Stars came down to play against the Washington All-Stars. Elgin leading that for Washington and Wilt leading that for Philadelphia. Wilt he's one of those guys could have played in any era. I think he is the most dominant basketball player of all time.
Wilt Chamberlain of the San Francisco Warriors, the league's leading scorer for the last 5 years, the league's deadliest man under the board.
The rebound, Luckenbill, back to Ruckwick, into Chamberlain, 100 points to Wilt Chamberlain.
He is one person that I would say saved the NBA. 1 year he averaged 50 points a game, and people came to see him play. He was such a big giant and an athletic person, blocking shots and rebounding, and just scored 100 points in a game up at Hershey, PA.
One of the players that played with the Knicks at that time, after the game was over, he called his wife and said, "Hey, Wilt and I scored 102 points tonight." And his wife was very thrilled, that she thought her husband had a great night. She said, "Well, how many did you get?" He said, "Well, Wilt got 100 and I got 2.
Wilt Chamberlain of the Philadelphia 76ers, an all-star choice and the most valuable player of the league, the tallest, strongest, highest scoring man of the NBA. As the all-time high scorer of the league, Wilt sets records every time he plays.
Some amazing things that I got a chance to watch him do, besides lead a team to a championship. I remember the Sports Illustrated had a headline, Wilt, the reason he's passing the ball now is he can't score anymore. He's getting too old. And I'm not sure if it was the next 3 or 4 games, he averaged over 60 points, just to let everybody know that he hadn't forgotten how to score. Then he went back to getting assists and led the league that year in assists.
So how good was Wilt Chamberlain in my opinion? Well, I gotta be honest, this is probably one of the most difficult questions that I ever had to answer on my show, simply because of the fact that I never watched him play when I was a kid. So what I'm talking about right now is what I have seen in the past 20 years from old video footage. But there's one thing I can say. Being a former basketball player myself and being a basketball coach, I can tell you averaging those numbers even against bad competition would be super impressive and super hard to accomplish. And if you take a closer look at his athleticism and how he moved and how high he could jump and his skill set and everything, I mean, come on, we gotta be honest, this guy was just a machine. And I can understand that especially the younger folks have a problem to accept that this was an exceptional talent because he was so far ahead of his time. But in my opinion, I think in any era, he would be one of the most dominant players of all time. So Wilt, you were incredible. All right, you guys, that was it for the Basketball Time Machine this week. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, click the notifications button, and I hope I see you next time on the Basketball Time Machine.